No Porsche. I'm on fire, don't touch me, I'm torching. Had a piece on my tip, I went fortunate. Put a ton on my back, I'm unfortunate. I'm more young, I'm gonna make it affordable. They load me in the bay like he's 40.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. I'm Derek Larger. I'm glad that you guys are able to see my newest YouTube video. I know it's been a while since I have been on my actual channel doing stuff. Like I said before, I have been doing the NFL podcast with my friends, the Third Down Squad. Be sure to check it out. Anyways, I'm going to get into this video today. I'm going to talk about a few topics. Again, some stuff that I'm kind of used to talking about. Talk about some of my Colts picks, who I want the Colts to pick in the first and second rounds, maybe even the third round. Give my indication of some opinionated guys that I want. And I will talk about LeBron James' season. Was it really worth all the trouble? Was it as bad as some people say it is? But anyway, we're going to get into that. And also we're going to talk a little bit about the Reds' start of the season through these first 5 games. Let's get into it. First, we're going to talk about the Indianapolis Colts. So yeah, the first pick, there's been a lot of debate from a lot of different people saying the Colts should draft a wide receiver. The Colts should draft a defensive lineman. That they should draft a safety. There's even been people saying they should draft a running back in the first round. Now, I don't agree with those people, but I do agree that in any of these positions, the Colts definitely need some help. They definitely do need some more depth at the safety position. Definitely a stronger, better safety to go along with Malik, or a better corner to go along with Kenny Moore. And you're right, and the Colts do need another receiver / tight end for the future to come. But I think the most pressing need that we have now, and I do believe that there will still be some guys left at the 26th pick, is the defensive line. The Colts need to continue to find guys who can rush the passer at that 26th pick. The Colts' biggest issue that last season was the pass rush. We saw it in the Kansas City game. There was not enough pressure up the middle to make things work. Marcus Hunt is a very good defensive lineman at the run stopping. We saw that in the Cowboys game. The defensive line is pretty good for the Colts up front when it comes to stopping the run. The last year, we were one of the few teams that did not allow a 100-yard rusher in that whole season. That's really good. But you need more sacks. And I know that we acquired Justin Houston, who most likely will go into a defensive line format rather than the linebacker role that he is normally accustomed to. And I know he will help us get a little bit of pressure, but he is not going to be a guy who's going to get most of the snaps. I want another guy in the middle because we have some decent defensive ends that are young and are going to continue to get better, and along with Justin Houston. But that middle ground is something that we definitely need more than the other positions right now. So that's what I would want for the Colts to do with the first pick. The 34th pick and the 59th pick, that's up for interpretation. I am all in on the Terry McLaurin bandwagon for the 34th pick. I'm down for it because Terry McLaurin, I know a lot of people don't know him, and I know a lot of people probably don't recognize him. That's fine, because Ohio State receivers a lot of times don't really get a lot of recognition when it comes to things like this. But I will tell you this. Terry McLaurin has very good speed. You saw that he was top 5 in the combine when it came to wide receivers in 40 times. He is very agile. He's got great hands. And not to mention a guy who's a driven leader. He's also, and he's from Indianapolis, let's just remind you, from Indiana. So that kind of helps a little bit as well. And then one thing that also doesn't get talked about a lot is he's a very good special teams player. Now, I know a lot of people say, oh, you know, the special teams, it's not there anymore. Wrong. I think the special teams aspect is almost as important as anything else. Special teams plays can make a big difference. And if you go back and look at Ohio State film, you will see that he is very, very competitive at every time he goes out on the field, even on special teams. And I think that is a hidden component as to why he should be getting in there. Now, there are other receivers that might still be there at the 34th pick or even at the 59th pick. You got A.J. Brown, N'Keal Harry, and a couple of these other guys. You know, it's not a huge issue. for the Colts right now, because I think T.Y. Hilton's still good for another year or a couple years, given health problems. You still have Eric Ebron. You still have Jack Doyle, even though Jack Doyle is getting older. You drafted a couple of receivers last year that were injured for the majority of the season. You got Fountain, you got Kane, a couple of these young guys who were supposed to come in and deliver right away. But they obviously got injured the whole season and weren't able to do much. So I think that the wide receiver is definitely the second or third biggest issue that the Colts are facing right now. So with that 59th pick or the 34th pick, I do expect the Colts to go for either a receiver or a safety, as you know, a lot of people have been talking about that recently. And who knows if Ballard decides to move back or if he decides to mix that up. You know, obviously we can sit here as fans and say the Colts need to do this because this is their biggest issue. But Chris Ballard doesn't really play by those rules. Chris Ballard a lot of times goes for the best available guy. And if he thinks they're going to be the best to contribute to this team, I'm all ears. I'm all for it. Because, again, this free agency and the draft from last year has shown everyone that the reason Chris Ballard is one of the best GMs, if not the best GM in sports, because he is just that good at being able to pick out talent. So whatever the Colts decide to do, I'm down for a Christian Wilkins, a Draymond Jones, Terry McLaurin, Jonathan Abram, all these other guys that I keep hearing. I'm down for it. I'm down for it all. But at the end of the day, I'm really hoping for Christian Wilkins at that 26th pick. I'm really hoping for it. And now we're going to transition to the LeBron James topic. And obviously, the Lakers have had a very terrible season. They will again miss the playoffs. And, you know, everyone has been hopping on the hate LeBron train. You know, here we go again. Another year of people trying to nitpick at LeBron for everything that happens. And a lot of people are saying that this season was trash for LeBron. LeBron's season was worthless. This shows that he is not a great player or whatever people want to say about him. I don't know. But we're going to talk about this subjectively, okay? Let's just say we take away his name for a second. Just take away his name for 1 second. He's averaging 27.5 points per game, 8.5 assists and rebounds per game, shooting 51% from the field. How many guys in the NBA are doing that this year? Everyone in that overall aspect? No one. No one else is having that row of statistics, being 27.5, 8.5, 8.5 at 51%. Nobody is doing that in the NBA. The only issue is that they're not making to the playoffs. So let's think about why for a split second. Let's just say first, LeBron James missed 18 games in the season. He missed 18 games. The Lakers are subjectively going to be 3-4 games out behind the 8th seed to make it into the playoffs. 3-4. You can't tell me that in those 18 games, you don't think that if LeBron had not been injured, you think that that might have changed a little bit? You think that could have changed a little bit? I think it would have. I think it definitely would have. And you know, people who saying that it wouldn't have happened, just stop lying, okay? LeBron on the court is just as good as anybody else on the court as well. And not to mention, LeBron came back after 6 weeks. He came back after 6 weeks. That injury should have sidelined him for multiple months, if not the whole rest of the year like it should have, like he is right now. That's why they're sitting him out now, because there's no point in doing it to him. He came back because he's the good leader that he is. He's setting the good example. And I know a lot of people will say, okay, he's not a good teammate. Listen, he's not the GM of a team. He's not the coach of the team. He's not. He doesn't do any of this. Okay, now listen. I will say that he does like the system to go through him. And I do understand that. That's a fault to his. Because if the system doesn't go through him, or if his system isn't working at that time, then it leads to the Lakers or whatever team he's on leading to a demise because the system's not working. But he's been used to having the system go his way his entire career, and it's always been working. So You can't fault him for that because of the fact that he's doing that. And another thing that we like to say is that how many players on the Lakers were injured this season? Well, you have Lonzo Ball out for the season right now. Brandon Ingram had missed a lot of time. Kyle Kuzma's missing some time. You know, you got, and a couple of other players on the bench have been getting injured too. You have half the team on this roster injured at some point in this season, and it's not like it's been for 1 or 2 games that they missed. Lonzo Ball has missed half the season. Kyle Kuzma's missed a lot of the time. Brandon Ingram's missed a few games, and a couple of other guys have missed some games. It's not like LeBron is at fault for any of this. This has been a really bad season for the Lakers because the Lakers have had injury problems throughout the whole roster. Throughout the majority of the year, they've had some issues. If that roster, and people say, oh, well, you have to prepare for that stuff. You never prepare for injury. You have a plan, but it's not like the backup plan ever really works. The backup plan doesn't run this engine the same way that the engine ran with the beginning of it because you put the best strategy forward to begin with. But ultimately, I can bring that up every single time. It's LeBron missed some games. A lot of players missed some games. And I'll just end it on this. I'm sorry for anyone that wants to says I'm making excuses on here, but please tell me that the Lakers, how good the Lakers roster is. They were dead. They were one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the league. And I'm sorry, if you can't shoot threes in this league, you're not going to make it to where you want to go. It can go by for a while, but it won't get you to where you want to go. So ultimately, LeBron chose this. Yeah, he did choose it. But what's he supposed to do? Is he supposed to just say, oh, I chose this. They're not as good as I thought they were. Oh, I'll just leave later. No, you don't do that. You take what you got and you try your best to do what you got to do. His team was not that talented. It was never talented to begin with. We fake believed that this roster could continue to do what we wanted to do. And it showed that why, because they're not good at three-point shooting and they're not super great on the offensive side efficiency-wise. They've been injured most of the season. And they are in the tougher conference. These are all the reasons why it is that LeBron is having a bad season. And his statistical stats, the Lakers are doing bad. But LeBron's not doing bad. Missing 18 games, even battling with an injury. He had 27.5 points, 8.5 rebounds, 8.5 assists on 51% shooting. Please tell me how that is a bad season. Because we have gotten to the point where the LeBron hysteria has gotten so big that people say if he's not getting 30, 8, 9, or above, and he's not winning all these games, he's not winning over 65% of his games, oh, he's trash. Stop it. Stop it. Okay? Please stop it. LeBron did not have a bad season. He had an unfortunate season with a bad thing. Now, you could say he was a bad teammate at times. You could say he was a bad teammate at times. I'm sorry. I know he's supposed to live up to a better standard. I know he is. But the problem is we put too much of a standard on him, I think. We do too much. We expect too much of him. And we can nitpick him all he wants. There are some bad things that he's done this season. I will admit that. He's been a bad teammate at times, let his emotions show, but he is human. He is human, and every human has his downfalls, but he is a very good player on the court and off the court. And we're going to go to our last thing here, and we're going to talk about the Cincinnati Reds, who are now 1-4 to start the season. It's definitely disappointing for a lot of Reds fans, including myself. I think everyone can kind of agree that it's been a very slow start for the Reds. Opening day was really great. Luis Castillo did a very good job pitching. The pitching team did really well, and even though we had difficulties hitting the ball early, the Reds picked up late and were able to make things work. But ultimately, over the last 4 games, and I will give a little bit of credit to this, that the weather has not been super great here in Cincinnati since opening day. Today's game on the 3rd of April was the warmest day it's gotten to since opening day. Opening day, it got to 70 degrees. Today, it was low mid-60s, and the rest of the days, it's been 40 degrees. So I can understand when people are saying that, it's been cold. It hasn't been very good weather-wise, and that does affect you a little bit when you're doing things like this. But I will just say this. The Reds' hitting has been lackluster, and it's been a disappointment so far. It's been a disappointment so far. So far, of all the players who have played outfield for us right now, Puig and Kemp have 1 hit each throughout the first 4 games of the season. Scott Schebler and Jesse Winker have yet to record a hit. The Reds' outfield is 2 of 45 so far this season. That is really bad right now. Through 4 games, that's really bad. I'm sorry to say it is really bad. Votto's had a few contributions. Eugenio Suarez has had a few contributions. Peraza's had a few contributions. Tucker Barnhart's had a little bit as well. But we're struggling early. We're struggling early. And, Luis Castillo has, for the first 2 games of the season, he's done very well. He's only given up 2 runs in the 2 runs opening day. He gave up 1 run today. What else do you want? And then the rest of the starting pitching the other pitching has just not been great. The game against the Pirates, the second game against the Pirates, Sonny Gray gave up 3 runs. Right away. Sonny Gray obviously did not look very good. I think that his curveball just wasn't working due to the cold. We'll have to see how he does next time in the rotation. And the rest of the pitching has just not been there. The bullpen's been pretty decent so far, but I think as Reds fans, we do need to settle down. It is 5 games into the season, I know, but at the end of the day, what you have to think about is the Brewers are now 5-1 or 6-1, and the Reds are 1-4. We're now 3.5 games back from the leaders in the division in Milwaukee, and we're only 5 games into the season for us. So, it's kind of a thing where, of course, you have to take your ups and downs at the beginning of the season. It's going to be difficult. There will be some growing pains, but we can't get too far behind right away because we won't be able to catch back up, given that the Milwaukee has the bats to be able to sustain what they're doing. The Cardinals have the bats to do what they're doing. And Chicago has some very good players as well. We're in a division now where everybody has the ability to last. And we can't fall behind too much. So ultimately, the Reds really do have to figure out their batting situation. That's their biggest issue right now. And hopefully the starting rotation, other than Castillo, figures out a way to start winning some games. Well, that's going to be it for this time, guys. Sydney baseball team, I know you guys are probably watching this. I'm going to be there this weekend to watch your guys' doubleheader Saturday. I hope y'all enjoyed. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe, do whatever you got to do. Leave some comments for some things to talk about on my videos. Be sure to check out my podcast channel as we will continue to do it every week. The NFL draft is coming up soon. I will have topics on that coming soon and other things to come. But until next time, guys, peace.